It's the crack of dawn at Fisherman's Landing in Point Loma, and the docks are bustling.
Everybody to the bow, please.
Dozens of enthusiastic anglers have just returned with a boatload of bluefin tuna, dorado, and yellowtail. Andrew Dallo with Point Loma Sport Fishing says it's been a banner season.
I've got overnight and day and a half boats that are catching 100 to almost 200 pound bluefin tuna up off our coast here out west and up north. And that's stuff that we don't even normally see up here, let alone go after.
The tropical fish are typically reeled in off Mexico and far offshore. Now they're being hooked as close as 10 to 20 miles off of San Diego, where water temperatures are exceptionally warm.
Right now we're 4 to 5 degrees above normal, which to you and me doesn't seem like much, but if you're an animal living in the sea and you live at that temperature, that's a huge change.
Toby Garfield is director of the Environmental Research Division at Southwest Fisheries Science Center in La Jolla. He says the warm water, called the Blob, that started 2 years ago near Alaska and has spread down the west coast, has sent Mother Nature into disarray.
And in fact, having this additional warm water has changed the winds a little bit, so our upwelling, which is how the upwelling winds really drive the productivity along the California coast. So if you reduce that productivity, you start changing a lot of different parts of the whole ecosystem.
He says nearly the entire fishery population has shifted north, and El Niño hasn't even arrived yet.
We really do have a front row seat on a fascinating change what's going on in our environment, because we have this warm water that we haven't seen it this anomalously warm in the record, and at the same time we're having a developing El Niño.
Garfield analyzes ocean conditions. His findings are used for managing fish stocks and protecting species.
And if you go out and do an assessment and you're not sure where that population is from, you can get some erroneous results in terms of how you're going to divide up the fisheries. And remember, the fish don't know there's a Mexican border or a Canadian border.
He sees two possible scenarios playing out this winter. One, El Niño's storm energy will stir up the water, causing colder water from the ocean depths to mix with and cool the blob.
So that's one scenario, that it may disappear and we'll go back to more normal temperatures. The other scenario is that the two will reinforce each other and we'll have even warmer conditions, and the weather patterns will be different than we expect with a normal El Niño.
Garfield says additional heat from El Niño could produce storms with higher energy and moisture. Meanwhile, the telltale signs of current ocean water temperatures from the blob have appeared in recent months along San Diego's shores. The unusual visitors range from hammerhead sharks to tropical fish to millions of red tuna crabs.
We've also seen by-the-wind sailors, these small hydromedusa, small medusa that float at the surface, that have a small sail, that are purple, that have occurred in mass on the shores here in La Jolla and elsewhere.
Researcher David Checkley with Scripps Institution of Oceanography says the reduction in upwelling of cold water nutrients from the ocean floor has drastically altered the food web.
At the base of the food chain, it's been observed that the amount of chlorophyll or phytoplankton is lower than normal because we have fewer nutrients brought up into the surface waters.
Phytoplankton provide food for a wide range of sea creatures, including whales, shrimp, snails, and jellyfish.
The continued poor health of the California sea lion population is likely due to a lack of forage, anchovy, sardine, perhaps squid.
Checkley says a toxic algal bloom from California up to Alaska is also a growing problem.
And with those harmful algal blooms sometimes come with toxins, domoic acid, that can poison marine mammals that eat fish that consume those algae.
Checkley believes water temperatures will eventually return to normal, but he looks at the conditions as a harbinger of the future.
And what perhaps is worrisome is if you think about things such as this and then a long-term trend in a rise in temperature associated with the climate warming or climate change.
He predicts some sea creatures will suffer through El Niño, but he says there are winners.
The winners are the recreational fishermen.
Back at the docks in Point Loma, Andrew Dallo says the fishing season usually wraps up in September, but not this year.
We're hoping this stuff stays around. If it stays up here, we can fish in U.S. waters. Yeah, you bet. We'll fish into October. We'll fish into November.
Susan Murphy, KPBS News.